today we're going to have a message delivered by one of our brothers in the movement who, I would say without shadow of a doubt, imbibes the spirit of Omowale Malcolm X. The work that he does in this community, has done and continues to do, and I'm sure will continue to do, is no doubt inspired by the works. He's very well read. And of course, there's a lot of material out there on Omowale Malcolm X, which we're just going to get a snippet, just a snippet, because there's no way in half an hour you can really get the true essence or everything you need to know about Omowale Malcolm X. But I'm sure, because he's delivered for us on many, many occasions, and I think everyone who has heard him deliver has always gone away feeling enlightened and informed. There's always something new, and the way that our brother delivers is in a way that, Malcolm X is very clear about the message that he was trying to portray or convey rather, and our brother ShakaRa Bandaka is very much the same. So without further ado, I want you to put your hands and hearts together as we call forward our brother Tafazwa ShakaRa Bandaka for our Shumira Omowale Malcolm X message.
Tanamwari. Be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. Kudzai Mudzimu Mukuru. Give praises unto our great ancestors, because our ancestors are worthy to be praised. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodi, African power and African liberation for all African people. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Tanamwari. Thus said Ra, the Lord of all, Lord of the utmost limits, after he had come into being. I am the one who came into being as Keper, he who comes into being and brings into being. When I came into being, being itself came into being. All beings came into being after I came into being. Such is the wisdom of Muzimu Mukuru, our most gracious ancestors. Say hail to the power of the word. Hail to the power of the word. We are going to come back to the significance of this word sound and what it means, but taken from the Pert M. Heru, the book of coming forth by day of our ancient ancestors in the Nile Valley. All right, so the stick up in right there, sir. Remember the words, let them resonate in your consciousness, and we are going to come back to these word sounds, brothers and sisters. But as always, as you know, when delivering messages honoring great ones like Omowale Malcolm X, I always like to also go forward in terms of honoring those who are significant in their lives. I always like to remember the fact that Omowale Malcolm X was a father, was a husband, was somebody's son. And so oftentimes, brothers and sisters, we honor our great leaders and the sacrifice that they made, but forget to remember those who were still here when they left us. And it's very, very important that we remember those who are still remain, brothers and sisters. And so we honor Mama Betty Shabazz. We honor the Omowale Malcolm X as a father. Yes, and the role that he played as a father, and understanding that the role that he played as a family man was just as much a part of the work as any other role that he took on in the community. Does that make sense, brothers and sisters? Are you with me? Are you sure? Okay, brothers and sisters. We also want to honor the children that these two great people brought into being. These are 5 of the 6 daughters of Omowale Malcolm X and Mama Betty Shabazz. We want to remember them. And we also, as I said earlier, want to remember the grandson of them both, Brother Malcolm Shabazz. And remember that he was killed, assassinated in the year 2013, whilst in Mexico. And thus represents the 3rd generation of manhood in this lineage, in this one lineage that was taken out and was killed, brothers and sisters. Remembering that Earl Little was also assassinated, and I believe 3 of his brothers of his 4 brothers.
Four of his 6 brothers.
4 of his 6 brothers, excuse me, suffered a similar fate. Omowale Malcolm X suffered a similar fate, and now his grandson, yes, has suffered a similar fate. And when we recognize that, we should always remember the fact that the enemy doesn't sleep. Yes, whilst we may not have recognized and seen who Malcolm Shabazz was, they did. And from the moment he was born, he was under surveillance, brothers and sisters. Let us remember that, brother. Can we hail all of the family of Omowale Malcolm X, please? As we go forward into the message. Tendai Mwale. So we say Omowale. Everybody say Omowale.
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 Sounds beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have to remind ourselves why we say Omowale. Yeah. Because ones may assume, yeah, that we say Omowale because we are overly excited African-centred folk. Yeah. And we are somewhat overly excited African-centred folk. All right. We say that without apology. We're not ashamed of that. Yeah. However, there is a deeper reason why we use the name Omowale to refer to Omowale Malcolm X, and that's because he was given the name Omowale. And so we remind ourselves of this in the autobiography of Malcolm X. He taught us in these words. He describes a scene where he visited the Ibadan University in Nigeria. And a man in the audience, after his message, who they found out was in fact working for the American government, attempted to challenge Omowale Malcolm X, and the students rose up and run the brethren out of the auditorium. Yes, right. You know what I'm saying? I tell you for where, and you know what I'm saying, all these things. All right. And then afterwards, and he was a guest. This was an occasion that was hosted by the Muslim Students Association at the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. And so Omowale Malcolm X said, afterwards in the Students' Union, I was plied with questions, and I was made an honorary member of the Nigerian Muslim Student Society. Right here in my wallet is my card, Alhaji Malcolm X, registration number M138. With the membership, I was given a new name. Omowale. Say it again. Omowale. All right. It means in the Yoruba language, the son who has come home. I meant it when I told them I had never received a more treasured honor. And so because of that last line, I had never received a more treasured honor, we profile and bring that name to the forefront when we honor Omowale Malcolm X. Does that make sense, brothers and sisters? It's a fitting name. And it's even more fitting as those of us who joined us last year for our Omowale Malcolm X Shumira, we went into the deeper meaning of this name. A little piece, yeah? Omowale, say it again. Omowale. All right. And so the name Omowale simply means the child who has come home, yeah? So Omo is child, yeah? It's not gender specific, all right? Wa, to come, to arrive. Ile, house, yeah? The child who has arrived home. But then I, was studying with a sister who has a channel, yeah? A sister called Aderonke, all right? And she has a channel called Yoruba Lessons with Aderonke. And she was going into this term, Omo, and as child. And she has a series called In and of Itself, yeah? Where she's looking at the meaning of Yoruba words in and of themselves. So not the translation in English, but what the terms literally mean in the Yoruba language. Is everybody with me? Yeah? And so this is Sister Aderonke. All right? And so I encourage you to check out her channel. All right? But to cut a long story short, brothers and sisters, she says that the word Omo tells us many things. It tells us what the person is. It tells us what should be done with them, and it also tells us what they can do. And so in relation to Omowale, we have a breakdown here. The one who is, and Mo, builds or mold. Yeah, to build or to mold. That's what Omo means. So, Omo, the one who is built, molded, designed for a purpose. the one who builds modes, the one who is taught or retaught how human life works so they can fulfill that purpose. This is the word for child in the Yoruba language. Are you following me? All right. Remember, so the message name, Omowale and the vision of freedom. Finally, the one who builds and molds, lives life in fulfillment of a purpose. So when we say Omowale, the child who has come home, we're saying something a lot deeper within the consciousness of our Yoruba ancestors. Is everybody with me? Yeah. We also want to remind ourselves of the name Omowale and what it means. Say it one more time.
Omowale.
All right. Beautiful brothers and sisters. Yeah. And so that brings us back to our word sound of the ancestors that we brought at the beginning of the message. I tend to open with word sounds of our ancestors. I'll read it again. Thus said Ra, the Lord of all, Lord of the utmost limits, after he had come into being, he says, I am the one who came into being as Keper.
Come on.
We're going to explain what Keper is shortly. He who comes into being and brings into being.
Yeah.
When I came into being, being itself came into being. All beings came into being after I came into being. So one day, brothers, I was meditating on these words. Yeah. No, I'm not a joke. Now, I was meditating on these words one day, brothers and sisters, and it occurred to me that Ra wouldn't sound like that. Yeah. First of all, Ra not speak English. Yeah. So I wanted to translate this more in a manner that would give expression to how Ra kind of would have sound like. Yeah. So I just had to translate it. So say Ra, ladder up so, down so, wrong so. When him come be, me are the one we come be, Keper. Him we come be and bring come be. When me come be, Phoebe come be. All when come be from me when I come be.
Mercy.
Oh, that sound?
Sound right?
It's some more like Ra, right?
Ra.
I saw Ra talk.
Ra.
Yeah, I saw Ra talk. All right?
Ra like Ra.
Right. Because we have to come be and bring come be. That's how the thing go. Yeah, I saw Ra for talk. All right? And so within bringing Ra expression within an African-centred context, let us explore. Ra said him come be as Keper. Yeah? So what is Keper?
Come on.
What is Keper, brothers and sisters? This is very important. And we're going to pray on the wisdom of one of our leading lights, Baba Theophile Obenga, to explore what Keper is. He says, we must devote special attention to the verb. This verb. What's a verb? Doing word. So Keper is a verb. Yeah? Not only because it occurs very frequently in Egyptian texts, but also because the grammatical points discussed above are concentrated in this verb. The verb Keper expresses being or existence in all its possibilities. It thus means both becoming and effecting. When Ra say, me come be and bring come be, I be and I effect in the beingness of self. You don't hear me, I say. Me say, me be and me bring come be. That's what Keper means. Included also in the meaning of the verb are the ideas of cause and effect. It is in this sense of the verb that the Creator says to himself, I exist, and in me all possibilities become existence. The existent exists because of the existence of the Creator. The existence, Keperu, of the Creator manifests Keper itself as becoming and effecting. Tendai Mwadi.
Tendai Mwari.
There is no Genesis, let there be light, but co-Genesis, in the sense that the existence exists by simple fact of its inner nature. Now we have to really delve into these things, because some of us are very trapped, in Eurocentric and sometimes Abrahamic thinking. Our concept of the divine creator still, even though we are challenging it somewhat, still derives from the same place. We haven't delved deep into what God, quote unquote, is within an African-centred consciousness. Are you in, brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
All right? Coming into being by itself, the existence brings out at the same time the entirety of existence. The one and the many are interlaced by the same dynamic power of the existent. One implication of this is that matter and spirit are two aspects of the same reality. Try to deal with matter without spirit, and what you have is incomplete, because matter and spirit do not just lie side by side, they are inextricably connected together. Yeah?
Come on.
We're laying the spiritual foundation for the message today.
Come on.
And if you were here last year, I said something to the effect that today we're gonna emphasize the spiritual in the context of the political, and then when we get to the Omowale Malcolm X observance, we're gonna emphasize the political in the context of the spiritual. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're gonna get into some spirit today, brothers and sisters. All right, in the name of Omowale Malcolm X, Omowale and the vision of freedom. Omowale Malcolm X. The term Keper, when you see it translated, the simplistic translation is like regeneration, evolution. This is the reason why there is no debate in African-centered consciousness about evolution. I've never come across this. That we don't have a problem with the concept of evolution, because we have concepts like Keper in our spiritual consciousness. This is why there is no debate between science and creationism. Whether the creator created the earth or whether the earth was just created, there's no debate, because that's a silly debate. It doesn't even, the question wouldn't even occur within an African-centered consciousness. Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
And so when we talk about regeneration, the principle of Keper, transformation, the principle of Keper, one of the reasons why we honor Omowale Malcolm X is because of the example, the transformative example that he set for us.
Word sound.
Yes?
Word sound, come on.
He's often charted as a man who developed through stages. Malcolm Little, Detroit Red, Malcolm X, and then them say El Haj Malik Shabazz, and that finish it. But very few people talk about Omowale. And so in this space we have been charged as children of Omowale to emphasize Omowale. But the reason why he is held in this regard is not just because of the transformative example that he set, but because at the point he was taken out, assassinated, taken from us, he was at a very key stage in his development, a very key stage in his transformation. And that key stage was exemplified in the attempt to build and develop the Organization of Afro-American Unity. Is everybody with me? Yes? And so we have words, brothers and sisters, from the first founding rally of the Organization of Afro-American Unity, which took place in the year 1964 in the month of June. And Omowale Malcolm X says, when I was in Ghana, I was speaking with, I think his name is Nana Nketsia. I think he's the Minister of Culture, or he's head of a cultural institute. I went to his house. He had a nice, beautiful place. I started to say he had a sharp pad. You know him on the street language. He had gone to Oxford, and one of the things that he said impressed me to no end. He said that as an African, as a what?
African.
His concept of freedom is a situation or a condition in which he, as an African, as a what?
African.
Feels completely free to give vent to his own likes and dislikes and thereby develop his own African personality. What kind of personality?
African personality.
Not a condition in which he is copying some European cultural pattern or some European cultural standard, but an atmosphere of complete freedom where he has the right, the leeway to bring out of himself, to bring out of himself all of that dormant, hidden talent that has been there for so long.
Come on.
What Nana and Ketsia is saying, to cut in short, is me want to be and bring come be.
Yeah.
And that's what I say.
Hear that. Hear that. Hear that. Word song. Word.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get a true translation at some point.
Brother Emmanuel says so.
We can I think I think no, you speak Ewe, innit? You speak Ewe. Yeah.
I thought it was God. Sorry.
You know what I mean? Alright. That don't mean we can't speak true, you know. You know what I'm saying? You know? You know what I mean? Yeah. So we got my God people inside of the place.
Hear them.
Alright?
Big up the airway, big up
The God, yeah, everybody. Let's big up. Alright? He says, and this is Omowale Malcolm X now continuing. He says, and in the atmosphere, brothers and sisters, you'll be surprised what will come out of the bosom of this black man. I've seen it happen. I've seen black musicians when they be jamming at a jam session with white musicians. A whole lot of difference. The black musician, he picks up his horn and starts blowing some sounds that he never thought of before. He improvises, he creates. It comes from within. It's his soul. It's that soul music. It's the only area on the American scene where the black man has been free to create. And he has mastered it. He has shown that he can come up with something that nobody ever thought of on his horn. I'm learning to streamline my messages. And I was going to cut this out, the message, that part, when he talk about the music. But I read it again and I deeped what he was saying, yeah? And I had to leave it in, right? Because what Omowale Malcolm X is, the analogy that he's drawing here is with our creative essence. And it explains it so beautifully. When we're in our own consciousness, we have the capacity to create from ourselves. Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
I don't think people really, like, when it comes to the words of Omowale Malcolm X, we get stuck on by any means necessary. Like, that's all him did say. The man have some things where him say that we need to listen to and take in and consider deeply. This is the founding rally of the Organization of Afro-American Unity in 1964. He continues. Well, likewise, he can do the same thing if given intellectual independence. He can come up with a new philosophy. He can come up with a philosophy that nobody has heard of yet. He can invent a society, a social system, an economic system, a political system that is different from anything that exists or has ever existed anywhere on this earth. He will improvise. He'll bring it from within himself. And this is what you and I want. He said more, We're going to come back to what more he said. All right? Is everybody with me? Can we just hear the Omowale Malcolm X for these things? So we see, as I said, we're going to emphasize the spiritual in the context of the political today. If you want the political in the context of the spiritual, you have to come to the Omowale Malcolm X observance.
25th.
On the 25th of February. He's emphasized culture as a definitive dynamic within the context of what it means to be free as an African. He's confronted us with the idea and the question of whether it is possible for us to be free as African people if we do not think and behave as Africans. Is that even possible?
Come on, not possible.
This word is given even more expression by a great African whose name we don't call enough and whose works require more study. A man by the name of Amilcar Cabral, revolutionary leader in the nation of Guinea-Bissau. Here you see him pictured alongside the female regiment of the army, the Revolutionary Army in Burkina Faso. Sorry, in Guinea-Bissau. In a speech that he delivered called National Liberation and Culture, he says these words: in fact, to take up arms to dominate a people is above all to take up arms to destroy or at least neutralize, to paralyze its cultural life. This is the essential dynamic of oppression, especially as far as the African is concerned. The idea that we're going to destroy and or neutralize their cultural life. For as long as there continues to exist a part of these people retaining their own cultural life, foreign domination cannot be sure of its perpetuation. Amilcar Cabral says so. At any moment, depending on internal and external factors determining the evolution of the society in question, cultural resistance may take on new forms, political, economic, armed, in order to fully contest foreign domination.
Come on, break it down.
So this is why, brothers and sisters, when it comes to our experience, the white man never just took our names for vanity's sake.
No.
Take away the drum for vanity's sake. Ban us from observing our rituals for vanity's sake. He was trying to neutralize our cultural life in order to cement the perpetuation of oppression. This is given expression in this dynamic that we draw from the wisdom of Mama Marimba Ani. I was recently with Mama Marimba Ani in Ghana. She said to hail up. she said to hail up the Alkebu-Lan family. But she gives us this dynamic of the Ma'at Ma'afa Sankofa. Yes? And she says, in order to heal ourselves, we have to have a vision of wellness. Right. And our vision of wellness she conceptualizes in the context of Ma'at, truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, balance, reciprocity, and order. Which is a defining concept in the African worldview, as she would explain it. But we've been taken through a process called the Ma'afa. The invasion, the conquest, the colonization, the enslavement, the neo-colonization of African people. And that the process of Ma'afa has left us in a condition that we call Isfet. Yeah. Isfet is the opposite of Ma'at. If Ma'at is truth, Isfet is lie. Yeah. If Ma'at is righteousness, Isfet is righteousness. If Ma'at is order, Isfet is disorder.
Come on.
And so we exist as a result of the process of Ma'afa in the condition of Isfet. And in order to restore ourselves to Ma'at, she teaches, we have to engage the process, a counter process, a revolutionary process of Sankofa, to go back and fetch. That's right. To go back and find. To bring forward our culture. This is a revolutionary process. Yes? But then, this connection to culture, as Mama Marimba teaches us, Through our ritual, we rediscover and reinforce what it means to be an African.
Word sound.
Yes, she says, African life is replete with ritual.
Word.
It states interrelationship with other beings in the universe. Ritual sacrifice symbolizes the principles of interdependence and reciprocity. It is through ritual that the unexplainable is understood, that chaos is made to be ordered within the logic of tradition.
Come on.
It is through ritual that trauma is avoided, crisis dealt with and overcome, and difficult transitions are perceived as passages between stages of normal growth and development. Universally, in ritual, the African combines life with artistic expression. Ritual is, in a sense, the ultimate philosophical expression of the African worldview, for it is the modality within which the unity of the human and the divine is expressed, in which the unity of spirit and matter is perceived, in which the eternal moment is achieved. The eternal moment. What's the eternal moment? We're bringing together our history with our present, with our future. Omowale and the vision of freedom. It reminds me of Mama Claudia Jones. Claudia Jones. Them say she's the mother of carnival. Why is she the mother of carnival? 1958. Notting Hill so-called race riots. White men attacking African families all over Notting Hill. And Mama Claudia Jones organizes the people. What does she organize? A quote-unquote Caribbean carnival. We understand carnival properly. Carnival is a ritual in its proper context.
That's right. That's right.
The theme for the carnival,
Come on.
a people's art, is the genesis of their freedom.
That's right. That's right.
A people's art is the genesis of their freedom.
Yeah.
In ritual, the African combines life with artistic expression.
That's right.
We may exist in effect now. Through our ritual, we are able to conceptualize Ma'at.
That's right.
And at least for a moment exist in Ma'at.
Word.
For the purpose,
Yeah.
for the purpose of bringing Ma'at into being.
Yeah.
Through our ritual. We immerse our ritual is a technology of psychosensory immersion.
Woo! Say it again.
I said ritual is a technology of psychosensory immersion. Psycho, the mind, sensory, all of the senses. We bathe our senses in the images, the sounds of not just what it means to be African,
Yeah.
but what it means to be African in a revolutionary sense.
Yeah.
Rituals are not vain, or at least they're not intended to be. We're going to come back to that. I got to move quickly, brothers and sisters. Yeah, don't worry if it's not making all complete sense now. It'll get there. Right, we honor Mama Frances Cress Wilson, who conceptualizes the 9 areas of people activity. Yes, education, economics, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, counter-war. And the graph here is designed to give expression to the fact that there's a symbiotic relationship between the 9 areas of people activity and the culture. The culture informs the areas of people activity, and the areas of people activity, through engagement with them and in them, reinforce and evolve the culture.
Yeah.
Yes? Question then becomes, what culture is defining our areas of people activity? And among African people, in the condition of Ma'afa, we have 2 opposing cultural inclinations. One is a culture, a revolutionary culture, a culture of resistance. The other is an integrationist culture, a culture of accommodation and assimilation into the system of oppression and submission. Within the context of the Alkebu-Lan revivalist movement, we define culture as having two primary components, cultural values and cultural mediums. Cultural values, the essential principles of a people's culture, in other words, the things that people value the most, which are expressed through cultural mediums. Things like respect for elders is a cultural value. Harmony with nature is a cultural value. Veneration of ancestors is a cultural value. Cultural mediums, language, the names, these are the expressions of the culture. Garments, ceremonies, rituals, customs and traditions, family and social structure, etc., etc., etc. Okay? But what happens in Ma'afa is that we as African people are taught to deal with our cultural mediums, expressions, almost exclusively and divorced from our cultural values. So now it's popular. Afrobeats is popular now. You can go to the dance hall and rave to Afrobeats. You can turn on television and the radio and hear music from the continent. Are you following me? Africa Liberation Day is now Africa Day. And MTV can have a whole day dedicated to Africa Day on its television station. Are you following me? We can popularize. We got African Fashion Week. Afro Hair and Beauty. You got videos going around where white people are trying Eba and Legusi. And speaking Yoruba and Tree. Right? And all these things.
All white djembe drummers.
All kind of different things are going about the place. Serious business. Dealing with the expressions of the culture, but divorce it from the values of the culture. When you divorce the people's cultural expression from their cultural values, what you do is you depoliticize the culture, desacralize the culture. And in that context, the culture becomes ineffective as a tool of war. That's what happens. Are you following me? So we can come round here, and down up some African garms, look sexy. African garms. And we do. It's all part of the process. Look lovely. Pronounce some African name. And all of these things. But if it's not connected to cultural values, which are inherently connected to the historical sojourn and experience of the people, it's vanity. It allows it to be commodified and co-opted by the system of oppression.
That's right.
Is everybody with me? And it also means that Africans become well known for creating music and food and dance. But when you conceptualize European culture, there are some music forms and some dance forms that you might think of, but European culture is generally characterized by things like democracy, logic, Plato and Socrates. Allow me to tell? They go to war to spread what? Democracy. Capitalism. And these are all gifts of Western society to the world. But the African can only conceptualize and contribute expressions, dance, food, music, poetry. But Omowale Malcolm X said, when we are Africans operating from within our African self, we will produce not only music, but political systems, economic systems, social order, governance systems. That's where we need to be. But the co-opting of African culture expressions is designed to divert us from achieving just that. I'm moving to the close. Right? So let's give you. I'm gonna give you. There's so many examples I could have given of this, but I'm gonna give you one example. Taken from the book African Cosmology of the Bantu Congo by Baba Kimbwanden de Kiabonseki Fukuyao. He says, contrary to capitalism and communism, socialism, the African Kisinsi, everybody says Kisinsi. Kisinsi is different. What the Bantu Congo, Luba, Mongo, Unrwanda, Zulu, etc. constitute in their daily life is a system, Kimba or Fu, whereby the land, source of happiness and blessings to all terrestrial life, belongs not to individuals, landlords, or to a state, as it respectively exists in the case of capitalistic and communistic systems, but to the essential fundamental community. Community in Kikonga is Kanda. And all its members, be they poor, rich, scholars, idiots, young or elder, they all have access to that inalienable land. As a Congo proverb says, community land is our life. Untoto wakanda nimoyo eto. That's Kikongo, by the way, brothers and sisters. Yeah? Untoto wakanda nimoyo eto. So this is a principle of an African social order, which therefore becomes a principle of African economic systems. That land is to be governed by communities, not an individual here and there, and not even a state. The king don't own land. The community owns the land. Many of you may be aware that my maternal lineage comes from a beautiful place in the Caribbean, a beautiful island in the Caribbean called Antigua. Yes? But Antigua is not just Antigua. Antigua, the state, is referred to as... Not yet. Not yet. I'll let you know when. Antigua and Barbuda. Yes? And I'm learning to pay more attention to what comes after the and in those Caribbean nation states, yeah? Because oftentimes, what comes after the and, is serious business. Another example of this is Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada and the Grenadines. Yeah, attached to Grenada is Carriacou and what they call Petit Martinique. Yeah, and serious business. That's what I can say at the moment for the sake of time. Yeah, but there's a place called Barbuda, an island called Barbuda. Yeah, and let me play the video and we'll wrap it up after this. Yes, this is in Barbuda.
On this plot, Mohammed Walbrook is building his future home. This 1 acre piece of land cost him nothing. In Barbuda, land is owned in common. It cannot be bought or sold.
I got this property by going through the Barbuda Council. When you see the area you want, you do the necessary paperwork that you have to fill out, and it becomes yours. It's free, yeah.
The first inhabitants of Barbuda were Africans reduced to slavery. Upon abolition in 1834, the Barbudans were forgotten by the British Crown. They had brought with them their traditions. They organized themselves to collectively manage the land, as their ancestors did. In 2007, this custom was enshrined in the law with the Land Act.
All right. So this is important. Our ancestors in Barbuda instituted communal land, ownership, for want of a better terminology. Why? Not because they read Marx and Engels and study Lenin. Them people they never come about yet. Yeah, custodianship of land. They developed communal land custodianship because of film culture. This is what it is. Yeah? You understand what I'm saying? Now, why is this in the message? Today, the Barbuda Land Act is being attacked by the government of Antigua and Barbuda. Why? Because some big money people from America and Australia, some millionaire and some billionaire, want to come invest in other people in place. So the Land Act is being rewritten and attacked in order to dispossess the people of the land. Hurricane blew through Barbuda a few years ago, 2018 I believe it was. Mash up the place. And in the context of that disaster, people had to evacuate. The Prime Minister used that as an opportunity to bring in the millionaire and the billionaire them to take ownership of the people them land. You don't hear me I say?
Yeah.
Same happened in Maui. Same thing.
Are you following me?
Yeah.
Mr. We're emphasizing the spiritual in the context of the political. This is an attempt to do what? To neutralize and destroy the people's cultural life. And they have some neo-colonial puppets in government who are there to facilitate that process. The land act says that nobody can buy the land. You can only lease the land. If you're a foreign investor, you can lease the land for a period of up to 50 years. The government gave an actor, you know the name, by the name of Robert De Niro. Yes? A lease for over 300 acres of land. I'm made to understand that's about the size of 10 Wembley Stadium. Yes? With the proviso that if the Land Act is overturned, he can own that land. So the people of Barbuda are campaigning against it at the moment. We can't go into the details today, we don't have the time. But I'm just showing you how the Ma'afa context continues. It hasn't ended. I'm also showing you that when we are existing within our own African sense of self, we create and evolve social systems.
That's right.
That's the most important part of this right about now. The question then comes for us, brothers and sisters, as those who call ourselves revolutionary, Pan-Africanists and so on and so forth. How can we organize ourselves to get to a position whereby we are able to advocate on behalf of the people of Barbuda? Not just no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. What if a Pan-African organization or a group of Pan-African organizations was able to go into Barbuda with respect to the communal order in Barbuda, lease a certain level of land and develop it on behalf of the people? Not for take with them land, but to build with the people. Omowale and the vision of freedom. If we're going to get to freedom, that is the kind of position that we need to be in, brothers and sisters. That is the kind of work that we need to be able to do. Tendamwari.
And one of the things that's going to help to bring this about is the independence of Africa. One of the only reasons that we in the West have never organized, we have hated our image and our African image. And because Africa has been in the hands of people who have created an image of Africa that's negative and hateful. And it has been hateful to us. We haven't wanted to identify with it. But now that Africa is getting independent and in a position to create its own image, and it's a positive image, those of us in the West look at the African image and see how positive it is. We begin to identify with it. We become proud of Africa, and we become proud of our African blood, our African heritage. And this is what is beginning to make the Africans in the Western Hemisphere today develop more race pride. And as this race pride develops, then it has the tendency to make us want to unite together and work together. And your Western imperialists and colonialists consider this to be a grave threat. More threat than communism or Marxism or socialism or anything else. The Africanism is what they consider to be the real threat.
Tendamwari. I play that, brothers and sisters, because what Omowale Malcolm X just said, in terms of the fact that Africanism is what they consider to be the real threat.
That's right.
Means that in essence, in the context of Ma'afa, to be African is really a declaration of war.
That's right. That's right.
To truly understand, know, and have the determination to be African is really a declaration of war if we understand it properly. As Malcolm X says, you've got to get some power before you can be yourself. Do you understand that? You've got to get some power before you can be yourself. Once you get power and you be yourself, why, you're gone. You've got it and gone. You create a new society and make some heaven right here on this earth. So as we affirm ourselves as African brothers and sisters, as we take pride in being African brothers and sisters, let us be aware of the fact that that pride is also an affirmation and a dedication, not to just speak some African language, wear some African garments, and even reclaim some African names, but to build new society, new political systems, new economic systems. As Papa Garvey himself said, a 400 million
Come on.
Africans could only get to know themselves in the next 24 hours. We will have a new race, a new nation, a new empire resurrected. I thank you for listening to the message, brothers and sisters.